Grown Folks Production. In the mix with the commish, Nate.
Hey-o, and just like that, welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL, the world's oldest and longest online CFM. Started in 2001 as a PC league, still going here strong today. Let me welcome in my co-host for the night. He's under the weather. He's not feeling good. I even gave him a get-out-of-jail-free card. My guy wouldn't take it. You're commissioner of the Deuce and owner of the Buffalo Bills, Mr. Maniac. How you doing tonight, bud?
Man, I'm doing okay. I felt better, but I'm here, man.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry that you're not feeling good. And we got a special guest with us tonight. Mr. D. Wayne said, sorry, fellas. I have a much prettier co-host for the night. I'm going to go hang out with her, so you guys are on your own. And we, Mr. Big Hurt offered me to come and join us. So you're owner of the Minnesota Vikings and 30 other teams here in the OMFL. Mr. Big Hurt, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing well. Appreciate the invitation, and yeah.
Well, I am glad that you guys are hanging out.
And it's only 27, not 30 teams.
Well, it's a lot of them. I do know that. Well, I appreciate you guys being with me. What's up, Logan? I see you in the chat. Tonight is going to have to be a slightly abbreviated show because Bill really wants to play tonight, and I respect that. And so we're going to see if we can get through this in like
Bill.
45 minutes or so. With Maniac sick, that might be possible. So he's like, I don't have the energy for y'all tonight, and we'll see if we can get through it. Maniac, do you feel like you're up to talk about weeks 4, 5, and 6 games?
I can at least do a week, and then if I start having an issue, then you can pick up where I leave off there.
Well, take off for week 4. What games did you like here in week 4?
Week 4, there was actually quite a few games that were really interesting. Green Bay defeating the Patriots 31-26. You had Chicago defeating Buffalo 21-21. Or 21-20. The Jets 27-24 over the Dolphins. The Chargers 35-30 over Arizona. That was a good game. The one I really wanted to kind of highlight, though, I always kind of like hesitate because I don't know for sure if it was a CPU game but the Denver and Seattle, the Denver Broncos actually getting the win there. That's the one I kind of want to highlight, but we'll just touch on a couple of others. Your Saints and the Bucks going to a tie. I mean, that's kind of odd. It's one of those kiss your sister type situations.
I took the lead with a minute left and still gave up like a 60-yard bomb. I was so sick to my stomach about this game.
And the Jacksonville Jaguars
that's defeating a big one.
Denver. I mean, that's another one that really kind of could have talked about too. Then Minneapolis, the Vikings here, man. Then all of a sudden they find 41 points and smash the Lions. So there's a lot of good ones. But like I said,
my boy's sick when he calls them the Minneapolis.
Man, I am out of it. I am so out of it. I'm sorry. Minnesota, yeah. So Denver at the Seahawks. So man, both these guys, when they're on, both have tremendous offenses going. Offensive yards gain. Here you see the Broncos outgain the Seahawks 374 to 350. The rushing yards, so the Broncos getting it down on the ground, 119 yards to 73. Passing yards were pretty comparable. The first downs, though, 21 for the Broncos, only 13 for the Seahawks. So the Broncos were establishing their drives throughout the game. Turnovers, only 1 turnover for the Broncos compared to 3 for the Seahawks. So that's a big stat. And your third down conversions, another big stat. You had 7 converted for the Broncos to only 2 for the Seahawks. So anytime you see numbers like that, you start like, see a trend here. Time of possession, also, the Broncos just absolutely dominated. 24 almost 25 minutes of the game compared to a little over 11 minutes for the Seahawks. So just absolute domination for us, looking at some of the stats there. But it was a close game, 31-24. Looking at player stats, you see that quarterback White for the Seahawks did have an off day, 3 interceptions. He did have 2 touchdowns, but only 57% completion percentage. So that's just not characteristic for him. Bo Nix had a really good game, 2 touchdowns.
Somewhere, Maniac Bronco Man is rock hard looking at this stat.
Yeah, Bo Nix is his man. He's got a man crush on Bo Nix, that's for sure. So he did get sacked 3 times, but he was 18 of 23, 78% completion. So he was just on target, on all day long. The leading rusher for the game was actually Kenneth Walker, 9 attempts for 66 and a touchdown. And then for the Broncos, Javonte Williams, 63 yards on 15 carries. So he didn't abandon the run at all. And actually 2 touchdowns from him in this game. Big use of him in the red zone. Franklin, 6 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown, was your top leading receiver in this game. Tyson for the Seahawks also had 5 for 97 for him. Duvernay had 2 touchdown catches, 3 catches for 66. So he was a target there for the Seahawks, getting in the red zone and the end zone for them. Defensive wise, though, we're talking about the sacks. So let's see who got the sacks in this game. Murphy had 1 for the Seahawks. Morris had another one, and then Love and Jones half the sack there. Tackle leader was Reed for the Seahawks with 8 interceptions. Parker for the Broncos had 1. Green had another, and Barton had another for the Broncos, and then Simpson was your guy with the interception for the Seahawks here. So no touchdowns from the defense, but man, just overall a really good back and forth game. Both these guys played a phenomenal game, and the Broncos just coming out on top, man.
And just like that, somewhere, Maniac is rock hard. All these Texas players making plays there on defense. I know that he was loving it. I got to touch on it really quick. I know we got to go short show. Hurt, I'm coming to you for the next week. I got to give my guy a break. I can hear him. He's trying his best to hang in. I'm not wearing him out, making him do every week. So, Hurt, you got to pick a game for the next week. But before we do, I got to touch on Jacksonville game. He beats Denbrew in the Cleveland Browns. Looks like this one had to be played twice, which is never a great sign, but I know Nysanger, I see you in the chat. Bird, what's up, man? Nysanger was flying high after this one with a big victory over a multi-time champion here. 24 minutes time of possession to 11 minutes for Mr. Denbrew and the Cleveland Browns. 338 yards to 223. 14 offensive rushing yards for the Cleveland Browns. That's just not going to be normal Denbrew football. He normally plays a different style than that. 73% completion percentage for Justin Fields, 3 touchdowns, 275 yards. Nowak 242 and 2 touchdowns, but only 40%. He was 4 for 10, so he didn't even get enough passing plays in this game. Definitely didn't get enough rushing plays. Just kind of struggled completely stopping the Jacksonville offense as they really held on to the ball. Cleveland had a hard time finding some momentum in this one. Tank Bigsby, the running back, I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's a halfback, 10 carries. I thought I was looking at receiving. I was confused for a second there. Najee Harris, 15 for 109 and a touchdown. Bigsby, 10 for 44. Nothing really from Cleveland. His tight end was leading the game with 3 receptions, 108 yards. Bayless, 2 for 93 with a touchdown. Davis for Jacksonville, 3 for 57 and a touchdown. Looking at a couple of defensive leaders, Delpit, 10 tackles on the day. Your sack leader came from Hall. Barry had a sack and a half. Garrett had a sack and a half. I don't know why I'm struggling with names tonight, but I am. Listen, another 1.5 sacks from Briggs, a sack from, I'm not even going to try this name, J.O.K., another sack from Lloyd, another sack from this guy whose name I'm not going to try, another sack from Walker. Just sacks for days in this game. I want to say Denbrew told me there were 7 sacks in this game. So a really big time win there for Mr. Nysanger. And Denbrew kind of punched in the gut there that I think he responds pretty well. Let's look at week number 5. I'm going to cover all these games. I'm coming back to you, Mr. Big Hurt. Give me the game you want to talk about. Green Bay, the 23-20 victory over Bird and the Carolina Panthers. Words are not wanting to come out of my mouth tonight. Arizona with a 42-36 victory over the Jets. I watched a little bit of this one. It was a really tight, close, contested game to the very, very end. Atlanta with a 10-7 victory over Cleveland. So after dropping the big game against Jacksonville, it drops a close one here with a low-scoring defensive battle. So offense is being a bit of a struggle here for Denbrew in the new Madden season. We're going to talk about All-Madden in a minute. Chicago with a 24-15 victory over Mr. Big Hurt and his Vikings. Indianapolis with a 25-21 victory over the Houston Texans. The Chargers Chargers with a 21-16 victory over Miami. Logan really got those Chargers rocking and rolling. Didn't mean to rhyme there. Dallas with a 38-13 victory over Detroit. Cincinnati with a 45-24 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My Saints with a 30-29 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Washington with a 15-13 victory over Twinkie and the Eagles. Rams, the 27-13 victory over Denver. I know that popped a lot of us. Baltimore with a 31-17 victory over New England. Jacksonville with another big win against Bill. 2 weeks back-to-back 26-25 victory over the Giants. Seattle would continue their regular season dominance over this San Francisco team and the league, really. 31-24 over the San Francisco 49ers. Tennessee with a 15-14 sneakaboo away from Mr. Maniac and his Buffalo Bills. And then finally, Kansas City with a 24-20 victory over the Vegas Raiders. Mr. Big Hurt, which one we want to talk about, buddy?
Well, I'm sitting here looking at all these games, and there's so many that I feel like could be worthy of talking about. The Falcons-Browns jumps off the page just because of the scores being such a defensive battle. I also think that your Saints and Steelers really catches my eye because of, I just feel like, one, the Penguins comes off a big win beating Kobe and then turns around, and I know you've kind of had your ups and downs with your team. One moment they're playing all right. The next minute you're just like, yeah, this season's in the bag and looking forward to the season 114. And here you are getting a big win over the Steelers. Another one I like is the Giants and the Jags. Bills played really well, went all the way to the OMFL Bowl. Nisanger takes over the Jags. You just talked about, he got a big win over Denver and he gets a 1-point win. And then the Seahawks 49ers, I think that's one that always stands out. Maniac and Kobe, that's an AFC showdown, and it's a 1-point game. So there's so many that we could talk about. The one I'm going to zero in on, I'm going to stay with the Giants and the Jaguars. The reason I like this game, I looked at it, and it was a pretty, defensive battle in the second half, but the Jaguars score 9 in the fourth quarter and win by 1. And so looking at the statistics, it pretty even offensively. The Giants with Bill has 2 turnovers. Nisanger commits 1, so he wins the turnover battle. The other thing that I noticed is time of possession was in favor of Bill. And I know Bill's offense in games that I've watched in the past with Jacobs as a running back, that's kind of his MO, and getting the running game going and then using neighbors. But Justin Fields really kind of blows me away with this game. Very efficient and high yardage, but 3 touchdowns, no picks. He gets sacked 4 times, but he had a 78% completion percentage. So he's getting it done for the Jaguars in week 5 against the very solid defensive team. And that's why I really wanted to touch in on this. Bill has been so solid defensively, but Nisanger has a perfect rating quarterback-wise, and just really dominated with Justin Fields. Controlled Jacobs in the ground game, 15 carries for 53 yards for 3.5, but he did get 3 touchdowns. So Bill was still able to get some production out of Jacobs, but Nisanger really, made Bill work, it looks like, for those yards. And then in the receiving category, Neighbors, no shock, had 6 receptions for 102 yards. But it was the Jacksonville receiving core. Adonai Mitchell, 3 catches, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Hebert, the tight end, gets 3 catches for 119 yards and 1 touchdown, along of a 62. And Mitchell had a 70 yards. So 2 big plays from those guys, and helping Fields having a pretty good day to get a big win over Bill and the Giants.
Yeah, and they even kept Givens under 300 yards and 2 picks, no touchdowns. Lloyd had 11 tackles on the day, just a crazy good defensive battle. And you got to tip your cat. Anytime you can get a win against the Giants, that's going to be a big-time victory. Maniac, you think you're up for week number 6? There's only a couple of games here.
Yeah, man, I can do week 6.
There is one going on right now, and I just wanted to give an update.
Give us an update.
Green Bay and Chicago is in the 4th right now. The Packers have the ball on the 6th, trying to get a 2-score lead. They're up 20-13, and they got it 4th and goal right now from the 2. So with about 5 minutes left to go.
We don't talk about it a lot, but I got to give credit to Cincyberg. These freaking betting lines are so hard. Like back when Neon Sports or Daddy Leagues used to spit out these automated lines, it was fairly easy. Like you could do pretty well with your eyes closed. And I think that's why guys like D-Money would win so many of them. But this is freaking hard. It is not going well for me. I'm doing okay in Pick'em. It is not going good for me in the gold sheet. Dallas with a 24-19 victory over the Carolina Panthers. That one popped me. Seattle with a 47-22 victory over the Cardinals. And then finally, Miami with a 31-23 victory over the Broncos. Any of those that it looks like the Steelers and Browns tried to play twice, but there's no recorded score. So that sucks. I'm sorry, guys, if you keep having DCs. Which one of those do you want to talk about?
Well, look
Reese
at the...
just went for a fake field goal and had a chance to go up by 10, and the Bears stop him, and not only stop him but force a fumble, and they recover on the 15. So Colin has a chance to drive here and tie this game up.
How much time?
4.5.
Got a slobber knocker down over there in Green Bay and Chicago. Who's home for that one? I think I just seen it right here somewhere.
It is Chicago.
Bears.
Chicago's at home. All right, that's a good one going down right there in Chicago. Which one you want to take away here, Maniac?
I was thinking to talk about the Cowboys and Panthers since that was the really close score there. So looking at the Cowboys and the Panthers, we got Birdman and going off against Dwayne here, and it's kind of see a theme. Like I think in a lot of the games, you see the points are scored mainly like in the first couple of quarters, and then later on in the game, like in the second half, the defense kind of adjusts, and it's hard sledding for the offense. Seemed like in the second half. So, but the Cowboys, they do what they do the best. Establishing the running attack, 167 yards rushing in this game compared to 87, and we know Bird is a man that likes to run the ball as well. So a big advantage there for the Cowboys. Probably looking down here, we'll see that they control the clock probably a lot of this game too as well. Passing yards 128 to 183, 16 first downs to 15, so very, very even there. Both teams committed a turnover in this game. Third down conversions actually goes to the Panthers with 5 compared to 3. And then looking at time of possession, it's actually really like just even all the way down. But we do see the Cowboys did have 3 red zone touchdowns compared to only 2 for the Panthers. So looking at the player stats, Dak Prescott is having a phenomenal season. I think he's probably one of the quarterbacks that has had the better overall quarterback rating, I think, on the season compared to TD to interception ratio. He was 10 of 16, 62%. He did get sacked twice. Bryce Young also had a kind of a rough day. It looked like 14 of 25, 56%. Was sacked twice, but did not have any touchdowns and threw an interception this game. So definitely a struggle for him offensively. McMullen, though, is the man. He is the bell cow for the Cowboys right now, and he is a big boy too, 6'2", 229, a big bruising back that has a lot of speed as well. So he is getting it done. He's almost like probably the running back for the Baltimore Ravens, Henry. He's kind of comparable to him, I think. In Dwayne's hands, he is just an absolute beast. 15 for 122 and a touchdown, though. Brooks, we've seen him be really good. Didn't quite get on track, but he had 12 carries for 58 and a touchdown in this game. Several other guys got backup carries in this game, so we know both these guys like to run the ball, though. Leggett, 6 receptions for 99, no touchdowns. Ferguson leading the way for the Cowboys with 3 for 52 and a touchdown. Mingo, 3 for 43. I'm not even going to... Okay.
Good luck.
We're just going to call him okay. Okonkwo, that's probably just about as close as I'm going to get. But anyway, he came over from the Titans. I seen him in the championship game, and he tore me up. And so he's over the Panthers now, and he's doing his thing over there. Lamb had 4 receptions for the Cowboys. Defense, though, we know this defense is what wins championships. Barnes, the all-world linebacker for the Panthers, 11 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss and a sack. He was all over the field. Diggs was the leading tackler for the Cowboys. Your sack leaders, we had Barnes, Williams, Parsons, and Brown. All these guys having a piece of the quarterback pie there. Marquise Bell had an interception, and Stevens had an interception for the Panthers. But, man, just a close game. Both these guys play very similar with the rushing attack, and Dwayne just got the upper hand here with McMullen, that star running back he has, and it showed out in this game.
We're going to come back and probably talk about this game specifically after our next topic, but I have one question that I just realized as I'm going through this. Why does the smallest quarterback in the league have the biggest head? Look at this photo. Like, it is so zoomed in on this little man to make him look bigger that his head is 3 times the size of Dak Prescott. Come on, EA. You gotta fix that. Let's look forward here. I'm going to cover some games here. Big Hurt, Maniac, I want you to jump in as you see one as we look at week 7, 8, and 9 as we are looking forward to some games that'll be fun. You know what? This game sneakily could be good in week number 7. Seahawks and Packers. You got to give it to Priest. He's playing good football. Go ahead, Big Hurt. I know you're itching. Give it to us. What's the update of that Chicago game?
Chicago drove all the way down the field, had the ball inside the 5, threw a hitch route. Stokes picked it off and returned it for 105 yards. Put Green Bay up 27-13. Chicago's got the ball back with 2:19 down, 2 scores.
Yeah, that hurts. Seahawks-Packers will be a really good football game. Looking at a couple of these other ones, Jaguars and Bengals. Jaguars going to go try to take out both of the buddies in the Buddy Bowl. I think he's going to have his eyes on that one. Patriots and Colts could have been a good one, but poor Patriots lost his quarterback, and so that one's probably not going to be as good as we thought it might be. Texans and Chargers might be a really fun one. Roger puts up a lot of points. Logan's got those Chargers rocking and rolling. Lions and Titans, maybe? I don't know. Tim's dropped a couple of games here early in the season. And Kobe, he's got that team rocking and rolling once again in season 113. Any games catching y'all's mind in week number 7?
I would say definitely the Seattle Green Bay game for sure, as you touched. I also think depending on how my matchup with Tim goes, we're playing tomorrow like at 10 a.m., but that week 7 game versus the Titans could be a really big game as Priest is jumping out to a 6-0 start, it looks like. And then he's got a game with Seattle. If he can find a way to win there, I mean, every week it just seems like Priest is getting a game lead. And as you get to the midpoint, you know, every game is going to be tougher for the climb if the Lions are going to try and stay in the mix. The one that I also would like to mention is intriguing how both teams have it, but then it's like at moments they just don't put it all together week to week. But it's the Cardinals and the Bears. I think Joker and Colin, very high offensive power. Both quarterbacks can air it out. Both owners can air it out. But then it's like some weeks where they just, you know, have like a fault and then they don't put it all together or something, or they struggle. And but that game could be very interesting. And then if Nysanger keeps playing the way he is, that Jaguars Bengals with Little Koch could be an interesting game.
Yeah, there's some good ones. I think Another one to look at would be the Chiefs and the Browns. Denver's kind of struggled a little bit, but we all know he can put it together at any moment. The Chiefs with Shocks fan, I think he's kind of maybe found a little bit of a groove so far this season. He's playing pretty well, so that could be a game to watch. And then Raiders, Dolphins, I think both these guys have played each other in the playoffs the last couple of seasons, so I think this game would be one. I know the Dolphins are struggling a little bit, the Raiders have struggled, but anytime you kind of get somebody that's kind of even kill with you at the moment, sometimes those games can be the most entertaining.
Let's look at week number 8 here. A couple of games. I'm seeing these live with you as we go through. Ravens and Jaguars. Nysonger's got that team rolling. I think he's going to be coming up against a really good Ravens team who quietly is having a pretty solid season. I'll try not to take all of them. I'm going to leave some meat in the bones for you guys. Giants and Texans. Again, defense versus offense. Which one comes out on top there? And then I hope he's back by then. I don't know. We'll see if why am I drawing a blank on his name? But Mr. Lost Sniper's quarterback. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. But
Rusty Starr.
Rusty Starr. Thank you. Is he back for this Dolphins game? They are desperately missing him in New England. What games are catching you guys aside? Maniac, you go first.
Go ahead, Hurt. I'm having a little bit of issue.
For week 8, the one game that I said 2 games that jump off is the Chargers and the Jets. Logan has been pretty Mr. Consistent from switching over from one LA team to the other LA team, but I think Logan has been a pretty solid, consistent owner since when he puts it together, can put up points to the best of anybody. So that could be a very interesting game and could be potentially a big AFC showdown. And then the other one that I like is the Chiefs and the Seahawks. If Shocks fan, like Maniac said, could stay being consistent and has found his groove. I mean, what better way to put it up against the test of Mr. Champion of the regular season, and he's doing it again this season, is Meek Boy.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few here. I think that the Giants and Texans could be. It's kind of like you got one guy that's super really good at controlling the ball and defense, and then you got another guy that can just air it out and at any moment can score 40 points. So I think that's kind of like an undercard, like one that could be like really intriguing if the Texans can get rolling. Could potentially be an upset for the Giants. And then talking about the Patriots, I think his quarterback, if I remember right, looking on Neon Sports, I think he had like a 6 or 7 week injury, so he's going to be out for a while. Hopefully the Patriots can survive and be able to pick back up when he comes back. But I think that's just going to be tough for him going through this part of the season. Titans, Colts, definitely one to watch. Vikings, Packers, those two, those are divisional games. So again, like I always like to highlight divisional games because these are the guys that you play the most. You kind of know their tendencies the most, and those tend to be kind of the more closer games that you'll see throughout the season a lot of times because you get a guy that you only play once every other season or maybe even once a Madden. Sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. You can either have a blowout but I think these guys that play each other that are really consistent and know each other's tendencies and stuff, I think those are the ones that you really kind of key in on and expect to see a really good game out of.
I agree. Let's take a last look at week number 9 here before we bring in some OMFL news and keep this train going because we are starting to run out of time already. Panthers, Ravens might be a really good one. 2 defensive teams that can kind of show highlights from time to time on offense. That might be a really just kind of fun game to watch. I'm going to go ahead and steal it. Titans, Giants, sign me up to watch this one. Two defensive teams, a rematch of Bowl 112. I'm starting to get my numbers all mixed up here. Bill's got revenge on the mind. I think he's going to want to get after Kobe. That could be a really fun one. I think Bears-Falcons could be a fun one. I know that Falcons, having their brand new owner, not made for him. He's revamping that team in his own image, trying to find his footing, but playing extremely good defense right now. He's going to be playing a Bears team that we know can put up points and turn you over a lot. So that just could be a really fun game in Atlanta. Sign me up to watch that one. What games are catching your eyes here, guys?
Week 9, I think I'm going to highlight the Chargers and the Niners just because Logan, when he was at the previous LA team, was in division with D-Money. And then now he's obviously switching from the NFC side of the LA to the AFC side, but he's very familiar with D-Money. And so it'll be interesting to see how that game goes. Being on All-Madden, it seems like Logan's had a little bit more success consistency-wise, but, I mean, D-Money's still D-Money. So that'll be a fun one. And then one other one that I really like is going to be the Colts and the Browns. I think if Bronco, kind of dating back to week 8, if Bronco plays Kobe, that's his chance to kind of like, hey, I'm back. I've got a decent record. He gets a win there. This game with Denver, we talked about a couple weeks ago. Denver's had a couple games where he's dropped and hasn't had the best of offense. But these are two owners that battled it out last cycle and were, time and time again taking punch for punch in the playoffs. So I think it would be an interesting matchup come week 9 for both of these teams, just to how things could play out. The Colts and the Browns could be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm thinking Chargers, 49ers are definitely going to be one to watch. I mean, this could be like a perennial potential OMFL Bowl matchup. Look ahead. And then I think also one that's kind of maybe an underscore, whatever, is the Dolphins-Vikings. The Dolphins have had a little bit of struggles. The Vikings are a young team, and Hurts still find his way. So I think that one could be an intriguing one to watch as well. But that definitely signed me up for that Chargers-49ers game. It should be an instant classic.
Also under the radar, Rams Seahawks. Crazy B-Man just coming back to the league, plays on PC, so one of our first and only cross-platform guys, and he had a big win here recently, so congrats to him. He's getting it figured out. Let's turn it over to Den Brew for the OMFL News. Den Brew, take it away, buddy.
Welcome back to the OMFL News. We are in week 6 of season 113 in the OMFL. I am Den Brew, and this is your news. I'm going to start us out here with a little review of some of our leaders in the OMFL. Let's start with the rushing leaders. Matthew Stark at 507 yards of the Green Bay Packers. Rushing touchdowns, we got 3 guys all at 7 with Josh Jacobs of the Giants, Bruce Allen of the Bengals, Montel Meadows of the Cardinals, all got 7 rushing touchdowns on the season, leading the way. Receiving yards, Quentin Copeland of the Ravens, 762 yards, and not too far behind. Xavier Worthy of the Chiefs right at 700. Receiving touchdowns is also Quentin Copeland. He's got 9 to lead the OMFL. Passing yards, Austin Henry of the Cardinals, 1,408 passing yards. Right there with him is Brad White of the Seahawks, as usual. He's got 1,359. And then passing touchdowns, Caleb Williams leads the way with 15, and Brad White, who's having an awesome year, setting right there at 14. Interception leaders, Steve Raymond. That is of the Giants, has 5, and then there's a handful of guys with 4, so we're just going to leave it all right there with Steve Raymond. Your sack leaders, Mike Hall Jr. of the Browns and Lamont Herring of the Ravens, both has 6. That's a quick look at some stats. I'll be right back with some more OMFL news. Sending it back to Nate and Press Pass Live.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew. Appreciate you as always. All right, fellas, we're just going to have an open conversation. Again, I wanted this show to be a little shorter than normal, and so instead of picking sort of a specific topic, also, I knew that Dwayne wasn't going to be around. Maniac was not, possibly going to be around. So I was like, all right, this is just a sort of an easy topic to manage things. But let's talk about All-Madden. Seems to be a hot button topic. Again, I feel like we've beaten the horse to death about who likes All-Madden, who hates it, who likes All-Pro, who hates it. It's always going to be right down the middle, almost exactly 50-50. There's love, hate both ways. Let's just really turn the corner and talk about differences, what we're liking, what we're seeing, maybe stat leaders, teams it's influenced more or affected more or not affected more, like just sort of overall league vibes, not whether you like it or hate it. And I'll get us going by just saying, just look at the scoreboard. Plain and simple, look at the scoreboard. Most games, we've got everything from super offensive games, the 45 to 47 shootouts, to the defensive games where 7-3 or 10-7 games. So we've got a wide range of either offensive or defensive games, and all the games, for most part, are pretty close. In the few games I've seen, they become blowouts. They become blowouts because of turnovers, which is what we normally see in the NFL. And so just on the surface, stats are not there, but we've done some tweaks the last 2 weeks that I think are getting us pretty smooth. I think it feels pretty good right now. I'm keeping an eye on interceptions, keeping an eye on tackling. Both of those feel like maybe a slight tweak, keeping an eye on running blocking. But again, I'll go back and touch on some more topics. I want to hit all of them right now. Overall, top to bottom, the league looks really good, and I like that. That's the whole point. We want competitive games. The whole reason we want it as a board, unanimously, they voted to give All-Madden a try, was so that we seen smarter defensive players. All-Pro, you still seen a bunch of dumb players standing around, not making plays, taking bad angles. I think we've taken some of that away with going All-Madden. Now, it's not all fixed because it is still Madden at the end of the day, but the games feel really, really competitive. What are you guys thinking about All-Madden? What are you feeling about All-Madden? What are you seeing about All-Madden? Pretty open topic here.
Maniac, I'll let you go first.
Maniac said, not today. Go, Big Hurt.
Okay. Well, perfect. I will take the mic then. Man, this is such a... I don't even know where to start. First of all, I would say I'm 1-4, so I want that to be known. I think a lot of my frustration was my comfortability playing with just how quick things move, or the reaction times and things, and being able to see things. And so I've had a few conversations. I've put some time in with practice. And right after that, I dropped 41 points and had a pretty good game against Tim. I followed that up with a 24-15 loss to Colin. But I kind of did some deep searching and digging on that after that game. And I was like, well, Colin's defense is like a 94, 95 rating overall wise. He's got one of the most talented rosters in this league. Colin's also, as I said just a little bit ago, I think as an owner, when he puts it all together, he can win to the best of anybody here. I think it's just a consistency thing for him. And so I've kind of tried to take a step back and not be the negative Nancy or the Karen or whatever you want to call it, and be like, oh, All-Madden sucks, blah, 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 blah. And I think I've grown, All-Madden's grown on me a little bit. It is difficult. It is different than All-Pro or college football or whatever.
Oh, way different than college.
But I think at the end of the day, you can't compare those. It's just not comparable. You kind of have to take it for what it is. So the things that I do notice is obviously reaction time for DBs is up. But I think as a quarterback early on, you're going to throw that ball and anticipate, because we were playing on all pro, that DB is not going to react. And now week 6, 7, that we're in, I think it's week 6. Yeah, week 6. Now that we're in week 6, guys are adjusting and they're making different reads, and so that's why you're starting to see those numbers. You're starting to see defensive battles, and I like that aspect. The one thing that I think is struggling for a lot of people is the running game. But you're still seeing guys. I mean, Priest is putting up 100+ yards with Stark almost every game. D. Wayne is still having success with Chance McMullen. But I think, guys, you mentioned who's struggling, and it's the D Money, in my opinion, that jumps off the page for me, or the Denbrew, some guys like that, because you're not seeing the consistency offense. Like D Money, I looked at a game earlier and I don't remember which game or which week it was, but he had like less than 50 yards rushing. I can't tell you the last time I looked at a game where he had less than 50 yards rushing, but he had Scioli, the quarterback, had like 250 yards passing, and that's just not his style of play. And so I think even D Money, the cream of the crop, the guy that kind of has run the league for the cycle after cycle, even he's having to make adjustments. And I think that's where we bring in parity. And that's what this league is built on, is all 32 guys in this league have the ability to figure it out. Priest is showing it, 6-0. I mean, and he's running away with things right now. If he keeps that up, I mean, who's to say that he couldn't make a run? So yeah. I think that's where we have to, as a league, step back and see that all pro versus all Madden. I mean, we could compare it day in and day out, but as a league, the more I took a step back and looked at things, I've kind of realized, like, yeah, I'm 1-4. But my first 3 weeks that I played and I was 0-3, I didn't put the time in to play the game on all pro or all Madden. And so that was the big thing for me. And then I put a little bit of time in, and it's gone a long way for me. And I've only got 2 games in, 2 tough opponents. So we'll see how that plays out, but that's just kind of my take on things.
Interceptions are up. I don't love that, but overall, as you said, guys now have to be more intentional about where you throw that ball, even with interceptions being up. I know we still get complaints that there are a lot of dropped interceptions. I've sort of made the case for that. Sacks are up, which is good. Receiving numbers seem to be normal, which they were not last season. They were crazy last season. I think we had several. I'll probably get correct on this, but with many receivers over 1,500 yards, with several over 2,000 yards. That is now fairly normal-ish. Running is more normal. I mean, we are looking at 2 guys averaging over 100 yards a game. It feels fairly decent. And that's with us needing to make some tweaks as we kind of learn where the settings kind of needed to fall with All-Madden. Maniac, you've tried this a couple of different ways, and you're a team that can play both offensively or defensively. You've had a couple of defensive games. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sorry. Having
You're good,
a little
brother.
bit of a moment there. Yeah, I think, overall, All Madden has been definitely okay. I think what has changed is how some guys attack the game. It definitely, I was not, for me, as a challenging is because, like, even on all pro or whatever, I wasn't really just like a super offensive guy. My wide receivers were like 20th in the league, and my rushing was up in the top, 5 or whatever. But now I'm with the All Madden, it's been a different game for me because I can't really run the ball right now, and I think a lot of that has to do with the offensive line. I think if you look at a lot of the guys that are having better success right now, their offensive lines are some of the top in the league. You look at Priest; he's got some of the better offensive linemen in the league. He does have some young guys, but he's also got a couple of really upper 80, 90 guys on his line. Dwayne's got some good linemen, but then you also talk about D-Bunny struggling. He's got one of the worst offensive linemen in the league. So I think a lot of that kind of shifted over, like kind of overnight from All-Pro to All-Madden, where you could get away with a little bit of having a 70 overall or mid-70s overall lineman to now it's like, it's a struggle, for guys offensively and stuff. And I think that's where the learning curve is, and trying to adjust your cap, because guys have saved money getting younger players or maybe lesser overall players on their offensive line per se, and then spend it on their players like wide receivers, skill players and stuff. So that may, if we continue on the All-Madden, that may shift focus, from guys spending all their money on DBs and wide receivers and those type of positions, and start looking at the trenches a little bit more. It definitely, like I said, it's just it's a learning curve, and so I've definitely been more defensively. It's not so much like help my defense. I mean, my defense in All-Pro was pretty solid, and they've been really, really good so far. I think I'm like top 3 defense, but if guys, if they kind of figure out how to move the ball and they're able to figure out things, and stuff, that's where the advantage is going to come. Those that learn the offensive and are able to put up points consistently, like the Waynes and even like Priest. I mean, Priest has played on a lot of leagues that are all Madden, and so that in itself has kind of helped him, I think, too, as well. But anyway, he's built a good offensive line, and I think that's kind of one of the core pieces that you see. The reason why he's one of the top rushers, and that alleviates a lot of pressure off your passing game.
2 undefeated teams. Neither one of those would have been teams that we thought would still be undefeated. I think that speaks to the parity. And so a lot of parity, and that's all I can ever ask for. Even if we decide to go back to All-Pro, the sliders will be adjusted in such a way that brings as much parity as we possibly can have. Bigger?
Yeah, I was just going to touch base. Kind of, Maniac said something, and I kind of reiterate what he said, but I think it's really good for the league that we bring, like with All-Madden, we bring value back to the O-line, because I think a lot of times when in the past, and you had at, I think last cycle or the cycle before that with the Saints, with Ryan Ramczyk and guys, like you had a really, really like top end offensive line, and it just didn't feel like those guys made a difference. And then you have like even on the defensive side, kind of touching base a little bit and flipping the script, like not even just offensive line, but like my defensive line, I've got guys that are solid, but I would say that's probably one of the weaker spots in my defense, and I can feel that because and so I think that's a good thing.
Me too.
Whereas a team like Bill has like a dominant front seven, and with guys like Dexter Lawrence and not even like just him, but there's Dexter Lawrence and Grady Jarrett and Brian Burns and like Kayvon Thibodeau, like that's going to set the tone, not only just passing, but running the ball. You have to be a little bit more chess-like and a little bit more creative on how you're going to attack that defense. Early on, I was just so frustrated. I'm like, dude, like that dude at X Factor is just like running right through me. And it's like, well, when you think about it, like Aaron Donald is a cream of the crop guy, but he's making that kind of money for a reason. And obviously Donald's not in the league anymore, but I'm kind of comparing, as I said, don't compare. I am comparing a little bit because like in the past, like Aaron Donald almost was like, well, I don't really want to pay that guy that kind of money because he didn't really he didn't really justify the money, type of thing. And we talk about like quarterbacks in this league, not making a difference. I'm going to just take the young quarterback because I can throw for 40 touchdowns with the young quarterback. Now it's not just the quarterback. I think it's all positions. Like as a defensive lineman, if you've got a stud defensive tackle or DN, he's going to wreak havoc. If you got a good offensive line, you're going to have more success having time to pass the ball or having time to run behind them and open up holes in the running game. And it's showing, like Maniac just said, the two of the better lines, the Cowboys and the Packers, are at the top. And even the Rams, I know Logan set up a pretty good roster there, and he was running the ball really effective. I haven't paid attention as much with Crazy Beam Man, but like Travis Etienne and the line that the Rams had, and Logan, like early on before he switched over to the Chargers, like he was having great numbers. And so I think that's where it speaks, like you build your team to a style, and it works. It's not like, well, I'm just taking a swing in the dark and hope this guy plays well. If he's a 68 and he plays as well as my 88 overall tackle, great. But like, that doesn't make sense. Like, so I think now with All Pro, with the sliders, it makes sense a little bit more. And so now you have to be a little bit more strategic, like how I'm going to set up my roster. What guys am I going to pay? And so the top end receivers are the guys that are like X factors or superstars, and guys like have a certain style of play, and people are using those receivers to that style. And then I like that. Looking at the statistics and kind of, it makes sense.
I totally agree with you. And as I always ask, let it play out. Let's see how it ends in the season. Let's look at stats, and then the board will make the best decision. And I think we have a plethora of different players on the board. So you're not going to just get voices of the high-end player or voices of the low-end player. We have a pretty diverse set of individuals on the board that can help give a really good idea around feedback of what direction we should finish off this Madden. All right, let's see if we can wrap up the show in the next 10 or so minutes so I can go play Mr. Bill. Bill, I'll need a couple of minutes to get things kind of set up and right back up, but we should have good time to get it going. And then I got to wake up crazy early and hit the road because I got to go to the office tomorrow. So I don't want to be up till 2 in the morning. Mr. Denbrew, why don't you take it away for the OMFL News number 2?
All right. Segment 2, OMFL News, coming at you. This week in sports history, way back in 1967, I had to do this one. The New Orleans Saints signed their first player. Here's a kicker. They signed a kicker. First player, Paige Cothran. All right, in 2007, Australian Open's women's tennis. This is significant for you football fans. Serena Williams beats Maria Sharapova 6-1, 6-2. But a special note for us football fans, this was the first time the tournament used Hawkeye systems for official line calls. Back in 2007, they did this. Here we are in 2024, letting two bozos spot the ball on the football field when we got technology that can do it more accurately. 2015, Mike Krzyzewski of the Duke Blue Devils earns his 1,000th career win, making him the first NCAA Division I men's coach to reach such milestone. Couple of quick boos and brews. Let's start out with a brew. Going to hand one out to each of our 2 undefeated teams. Those Green Bay Packers and the Baltimore Ravens are both 5-0. How about that? Awesome job. And then I got a boo. I got a boo for the beloved commish of the OMFL. I'm booing you, Nate. Nate, you predicted I would make the OMFL Bowl on the last Press Pass Live, and since then,
I did.
I've lost 2 in a row, daggone it. Boo, Nate, boo. Back to Nate and Press Pass Live.
I boo you right back, Denbrew, because I put money on you. I put my reputation on the line for you, and you just keep letting me down. I need you to get it figured out. It's not a Nate problem. It's a Denbrew problem.
It's the commissioner's curse.
Yeah. What's up, Trey? Good to hear Mr. Trey popping in here. We miss Mr. Trey, but I got a feeling if this season keeps going, Trey, the way it's going, we're going to have some dudes tap out because we got some soft as baby poop guys around here sometimes. Let's go ahead and open up the mailbag. Well, let's see if we can run through a couple of these. The way I like to say it right here is go ahead, Mr. Randy. He says, I think we have all tried. Not all. I have not. But he says, I think we have all tried to copy D-Money and get those good corners. What other position group do you think makes or breaks a team's chance of success? I'm going to steal what Maniac's already talked about, because when I seen this question, I was like, absolutely, this is my answer. It's O-line, D-line. And I still think football's even is spread out and offensive heavy and offensive minded as it has become in real life, and definitely in the video game. It is still won and lost in the trenches, and that's where I think it gets done. What about you guys? What position groups do you think make or break a team?
I'm definitely thinking like right now, like, you know, talking about what I already talked about, the offensive line, D-line, but I also think your linebacker core, I think, is a significant player group, because like they can help control the middle of the field and also help you control the offensive rushing attack. So I think if you've got some big name guys, some guys, big thumpers that can wallop you and also can cover receivers and tight ends, I think that's a big help to your team, a la the Cowboys, and we see what he does with that linebacker core that he has, and others. You know, when they come down, running down to fill the hole, man, a lot of times they're hit sticking and causing all kinds of havoc up in the middle of that stuff. So.
This is going to be an answer you may not like, but I'm going to give it anyways. I think the position group really depends on the player and the style that you play. And like D-Money likes to put pressure and just play the soft defense and kind of play that bend but don't break defense, and forces you into like passing because he puts so much pressure on you running the ball.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So when he's running the ball and he just, you feel like you're limited possessions. And so then you're trying to kind of change your style, and he forces you right into where his best players are. And I think that's where, like Priest, example right now, Priest is playing so good. He's running the ball. He's utilizing his line of that running back, but he's also being smart with where he's taking his shots deep instead of just sitting back, airing it out left and right, even because he has the best line and he's got fast receivers. But I would just say, however you play and what your style of play is and how you want and feel most comfortable playing, you have to be able to put that opponent in a checkmate scenario. And that's where you need your strongest players. And so if that is, you know, a secondary or a linebacker, stop. Like if you feel like you're weaker in the run game or however, that's kind of how my answer is. But I think it's easy to say skill positions just because a lot of guys like to pass the ball. So it's easy to load up on corners. But if that's not your forte and that's not your play style, then you're kind of like wasting those corners per se, and maybe defensive ends or, you know, linebackers to shut down the running game because you want to play that style of game. Look at D. Wayne's kind of a perfect example. He doesn't like to air it out. He'll take the low end quarterback and just run it down your throat all day long, but that's his style of play. So he puts that pressure into you, and that's how he kind of builds his roster.
Nicesonger, over the first 5 to 6 weeks of season 113, what team has been the biggest surprise? You got to talk about Priest, right? Like, we've seen him put it together at different times, but he is the top dog early in season 113. He's got great balance. I played him this season to a very close game, one that I feel like I just let him off the hook very late in that one. And I was constantly waiting for the big bomb. I was constantly waiting for him to make the big mistake, and he just stayed balanced and stayed committed to the run and kind of calling really good plays. And he's playing really good football right now. How about you guys? Who else is catching your eye?
I think for me, it's the other undefeated team, Nipple. I mean, when he's engaged, we all know what he's capable of, but on the flip side of things, he's doing it in a way that I have not seen him play, and he's airing it out to Quentin Copeland, who is the rookie receiver. And that dude's putting up some crazy numbers early on. And it's kind of a one-man show there in the receiving core for the Ravens. And I think that is Priest has shown this. I don't remember the guy's name in the past. He had a really good running back, and he showed good balance. And he had that with the Packers like a cycle or two ago. And so it's kind of there you go. Of course, Trey
remembers everything. I know he remembers everything.
Yes, Trey, that's why that is why you're here. But yeah, so Clancy, like Priest had that balance attack, and so that was where he's kind of got that build and that make. And again, that's what I just talked about, is like building that roster to your play style. And so he's built that roster to his play style, and now here we are. Priest is 6-0, and it is, I would say, for a big shock for most. But I think if he has that roster, that's what Priest does, and that's how he plays. And he puts pressure on you because he runs the ball, and then right when you bring your safeties up or you forget about that deep throw, he hits you on the deep throw. But again, to me, it's the Ravens. The Ravens guy, Copeland, is a one-man show in the pass game, and that's just not the way Nipple has been successful in the past. So I'm kind of shocked and impressed so far through season 113.
I'm assuming Maniac's having a moment, so I want my guy to take care of himself. All right, we got 3 questions, and we got to see if we can get through these in 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that. Bird says, overall, do you feel like you're seeing more pressure on All-Madden? I ask because my D-line is not generating any. I would say it depends on who you're up against. If they have really good pass blocking offensive line, they're going to stymie you. And I think it just depends on your D-line. So it's like sort of a combination of both. I don't know your team, Bird, off the top of my head. I know you have some really good playmakers. I think some X-Factor guys or superstar guys at least. So I'm a little surprised that you're not getting any, but I also am not getting a ton. It's sort of, I think the way they've made Madden, in my opinion, it sort of comes in waves. It usually comes early in a game, and then it seems to come late in a game if you have momentum. And then if the game's sort of even, kind of down the middle, then neither side really gets a lot of pressure, unless you have a really bad offensive line like I do, and then you kind of give up a lot of pressure. But what about you guys? You seen anything with the D-line pressure on All-Madden?
I feel like the pressure.
Sorry. I feel like the pressure is kind of like my team, like, so I kind of go by what Bird is saying, because I know like my team, I've got some of the better defensive linemen right now. I've got Bolden, who's like a 92 X factor, and my other defensive end, I just kind of went blank on his name, but and then I've got 2 really good defensive tackles, and I haven't seen a whole lot of pressure, but I think a lot of it is just from the fact that guys are just unloading the ball quickly. Like I don't know how many games I've watched where you see the quarterback getting hit and they're going ahead and they're actually throwing it. I do the same thing. If I'm getting really close to getting hit, I'll go ahead and hit the throw button, and either to like the guy in the flat or whatever, and you see the ball kind of flutter. Now, sometimes it will lead to a pickoff from the defensive lineman, but 9 out of 10 times it's just going to flutter to the ground. And I think that's where you see like so much, not so much that the sack numbers are being a deal, but that the actual overall pressure is there. Just guys are just they're willing to take the risk of throwing the ball wild and just getting rid of it instead of taking the sack.
Are there forcing throws, which is why these interception numbers I think are up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of it for me, like I played Maniac earlier, and I just tried to like really kind of run the ball more than a normal game, just because I know what kind of secondary he has. And so, I mean, I tried to like utilize that against him and not let those guys be playmakers, because I start airing it out, his DBs are just gonna close the gap and pick it off. And I think his name is Shepherd, if I remember right. Yeah, Shepherd. Like, I mean, dude's got like 97 or 98 speed, like, and he's 6'2". Like, he's gonna take away one receiver. And for me, I mean, obviously I have Jay Jettas, but like Jay Jettas is a non-factor when he's going up against a guy who's faster, the same size, like. So it's hard to get my best player open. And so it's like, okay, well, again, that's where I have said before, like, you have to be a little bit more strategically, schematically, and put kind of a game plan together to try and be different of how you're going to attack each team, because it's how that team's built. And I think a lot of people have realized, okay, pressure's coming, coverage is tight, so let's hit the quick pass, let's hit the flats, let's hit the drags, the high percentage routes. Those that are throwing the ball deep, you're probably getting a lot more pressure. And I'm looking at some of these, like the Ravens and the Browns and a couple teams. I mean, the Ravens got 2 guys with like 6 sacks. I know the Bears have a handful of guys with sacks. So it's not like we're not seeing statistically teams with sacks. But I just think it's guys that feel a little bit more comfortable, or your weaker corners, they're like apt to pass the ball, but it's still getting the ball out quick. And guys who have probably a better defense and they see those corners and they're like, okay, I'm going to avoid it, I'm going to run the ball more.
Already over our 5 minutes. We still got 2 questions to go. Let's see if we can get through these. What's more valuable from Coach Kobe to a coach here in the OMFL? Their own personal playbook or a team hand-built for them? I think this might be a Chargers question or a Chargers-inspired question. I would have to say playbook. I think you can take your playbook and either take a default team like we do for the Toilet Bowl, or move teams like we've seen Logan do, moving over to the Chargers, and still be able to find wins because you're comfortable with that playbook. They're plays that fit to your style. Even if you don't have all the players to play that style, there's something about that style that you can find on a team to sort of play with the play calls that you have. I think that's really important. I think both are the deadly combination, but I think if you had to pick one or the other to get the quickest success, I think you can find it both ways. But for me, give me the playbook. What about you guys? Playbook or a team built for you?
I think playbook as well. I just think building a team has to kind of become within you, because like, you know how you want to play. And if somebody else is building a team for me, they may like have a good idea of how I play, but deep down, like, you really know what you want to do. And so I think building a team has to come within you. And some guys are better than others at doing that. And some guys are better than others at building playbooks and calling plays and whatnot, but I think the playbook would be more valuable.
I'm gonna go with the team. I think, because if you look at most guys' playbooks, they're all kind of comparable. I mean,
good point.
Everybody's got the same type of plays, they're with a few variations and stuff. But you take the guys that got like a super fast wide receiver, and they can take that same play and they can actually turn it into big yards, on a lot of plays. Whereas, like, if you got a guy that's only 89 speed and you run that same type of play, you're going to have to, look at doing something different, because he's not going to be able to get open like the other one. So I think it could be a combination of both. But I think if you play a certain way, you take a team that's ready, built for you, you can step in, you know what you like to call. If you like to run the ball, your team's built to run the ball, you step in. I mean, you got dives, you got powers, and you got tosses, whatever, and you're going to step right in and you're going to dominate. But if you take that same playbook and you got a team that's like a 70 overall or whatever, and their line stinks, you're going to struggle. And so, but for me, it's a little combination of both. But give me a team that's ready made for me, and I'll work with it.
Logan, is Kobe on the same gummies this week or no? I guess not. He's sound asleep. So maybe he is on the same gummies. He's already in bed and ready to call it night. Pre says, 2-part question, top 3 defenses, Raiders, Browns, Chargers. Will this change by the end of the season? I say yes. I think the Chargers are going to keep playing good ball. I see Browns and Raiders. Even though I played the Raiders, they're really good. What do you guys think about the top 3 defenses?
I mean, that's kind of surprising. I mean, especially the Raiders and the Browns, they're not really known for their defense. I mean, yeah, Denver's known for defense, but I mean, he's not really the last few seasons. He's not been known for his like real top defense. He's been known more for his offense. But I think the Raiders is probably like the real surprise there. And I do think it's going to change because eventually guys are going to start figuring out more plays that work better on certain things. And, you know, as the season goes, they just get more comfortable and they'll call the plays. Same thing with the offense. You know, it's going to change. I do think the Cards being there at number 1, that's surprising. But we all know that Joker likes to get things going on offense. So, but yeah, it's always going to fluctuate.
I think, I mean, these teams, respectively, could be there. I do think it's interesting that the Raiders are at the top, and I know he was talking about trading Max Crosby, which, I mean, why would you trade your high-end player? But obviously, maybe trying to rebuild. I think the Chargers, Logan, yes. I think Bill might jump in the top 3. But I think it's also skewed because it's like a little bit of like who's in the division too, because like Bill has to play Dwayne twice and he has to play Twinkie twice, and he has to play Shiloh Blad, and then like whatever schedule Bill was second or first in his division last year, so he's playing a top 2 schedule. So like that also kind of takes in, you know, because he's playing some high-end opponents and whatnot. But I would say teams that I would expect to be there would definitely be like Bill, maybe Kobe. Obviously, Kobe did make some major roster changes. Trying to kind of think about Maniac. Your defense is loaded. Yeah. I mean, Colin has the makeup or the roster to be there. D Money's got a pretty solid defense. Yeah, I would leave it at that. But I think the Browns have a pretty solid defense. But like Maniac said, I think he's a little bit more offense. But I would say he's definitely top 10.
Yeah, Trey, I think we cut you off with something. Maybe.
Definitely not.
Oh, my bad. I thought I heard you say something. You got to give me a heads up that you're popping in, Trey. I'll start intentionally building in some segments. Alex, yes, you're allowed to make some adjustments, but we ask that you keep it to a minimum, at least like half of the game. You need to run the play that you call, but you're allowed to make some adjustments, especially on defense. Same question, but the opposite side. He said, top 3 offenses, Cardinals, Seahawks, Cowboys, are they going to change by the end of the season? I think absolutely we're going to see some changes there for a lot of the reasons that you both said. Guys are going to start to figure out how to play with these sliders on All-Madden. They'll get that offense rocking and rolling by the time we get to the end of the season. What do you guys think are going to be top 3? Cards, I think, will be there. They're putting up some serious numbers. Seahawks also playing outstanding with their quarterback. That game today between those two could have been really good, but Joker just kept throwing some like crazy interceptions of like, oh, can't make that throw. And Cowboys, they're always at the top because they are just consistently going to run the ball and not turn it over. But how do you see the top 3 offenses playing out?
Maniac, I never know if you're going to go first, so I kind of always pause. But anyways, I think, these 3 teams obviously are at the top, but I think for me, teams offensively, when I think about offense right now, Seahawks, Cardinals, Cowboys, Jets, Packers, Dolphins. And I would say Colin with the Bears. I think, Colin has, again, the makeup to be a top offense. Massimo has a pretty elite offense, passing game. The Jets are putting up a lot of points earlier this year and still are. Probably one of the more high-scoring offenses. So, I think those teams could definitely be up there. But I think all three of these teams are definitely going to be top 8, top 10, and easily could be in the top 3. But there could be a little bit difference of movement, throughout the season.
I think I'd be more confident in telling you who's not going to be. But these guys. A lot of these guys really know how to play offense. Obviously, Meek Boy, Dwayne. I think you could have it on Ultra, All-Madden, and these guys would still perform really well. Yeah. And so it's just some guys are, they're going to be able to play any setting, whatever, and be able to perform just like they would on any other setting, lower setting. But the Cardinals definitely is, a surprise there and stuff. But there's a few guys that could maneuver up and down and stuff, but I'm almost kind of interested to see on the opposite end. Like my team right now, I'm like number 31, I think, in the league in offense. So it's I think with the team that I have and the quarterback I have and stuff, I will admit, like, I'm kind of upset myself. I should have a little bit better offensive output, but that's just the way it is sometimes, and you roll with the punches.
Alec, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being a part of the community, and it's been good to see you and have you in here. And so hopefully I'll get to know you a little bit more. Thanks for correcting me on how to say it properly. I'm probably still not, because I'm a Cajun, and brain and mouth don't always work well together, but I appreciate you nonetheless. Guys, let's put a bow on this show. Bill's already like, are you still Press Pass Live? I'm like, I am, but we're wrapping it up, I promise. Give me some closing thoughts, Mr. Big Hurt.
There's a lot of games that are coming up that are going to be fun to watch. Guys are starting to kind of figure All-Madden out a little bit now that we're 6 weeks in. Guys are adjusting, and I think it'll be interesting to see some of these heavyweight battles that we got going on. I think that guys need to be a little bit more, myself included, as I said earlier, maybe not as quick to have an opinion on a switch to All-Madden or All-Pro. The only thing, you kind of build the team, how the game's playing, and then the switch, it kind of just flips the script real quick. But at the end of the day, as I kind of said earlier, I took a step back and kind of looked at the bigger picture, and I think the bigger picture may not be the lesser of two. So just kind of be open-minded, but keep playing your games, keep plugging through, and let's knock out a couple more seasons, and let's see who the next Super Bowl champ is here in the OMFL.
That'll be the day that humans do not have quick, overrated, over-opinionated opinions about anything and everything. Boy, we're really good at that, especially online. And I love that all of us non-NFL employees have, including me, I'm putting myself in it, have comments and thoughts about who should be like NFL
Don't get me
coaches
started.
And GMs and offensive, who's good and who's not good. And like we know it all. And it's like, what are we doing? Maniac, you should be on IR, but you're not. You push through. You're like, give me the shot, coach. Put me out there. I'm playing. Give me a closing thought, bud.
Bill's already trying to schedule his next week's game, so
he's trying to schedule a month from now. He's hitting week 14 up. Hey, can we get this thing figured out?
Sounds very Billish.
Yeah, it's been a good show, man, and I appreciate you always having me on and stuff. And yeah, it's been a little bit more of a struggle today, but I always love talking about the OMFL. And yeah, I agree with Big Hurt. Sometimes just gotta let our opinions fall to the wayside, and just for the better of the league and for each other, just bite your tongue sometimes, bite your lip, and just go with it, and try to figure out the best you can. And if not, just start selling the farm and get ready for the draft and try to get better. So, but so good luck the rest of the season, guys, and good luck to you and Bill.
Trey, what the
Hey,
hell?
bro, I don't know if you heard, but Trey possibly has been hanging out. Don't start trying to schedule a game in like season 135 with him.
It'll happen. Trey, you're here. Drop some knowledge on us as we get out of here, man. It's good to hear your voice.
If anybody, feels like selling their house, I'm sitting on the porch swing waiting for you to sell it. Because as soon as the sign goes up, I'm buying it.
That's so funny. He is top of the list. He is next up. I hate losing people, but you've been around. You've been doing this for 25 years almost. You start seeing, like, I've seen these movies before. I know how they end.
It's a trend, man.
Yeah, guys just don't. They just sort of can't. They get stuck and they can't get themselves unstuck, and they got to walk away for a bit. And I hate it because I really do love all the humans here. I think Shiloh's about the only human I don't really know because that guy lives, around the world, and he just plays his games here, and I just haven't got a chance to know him. But everybody else, I feel fairly confident that I know on a personal level and know personal things about them. So I hate when guys disappear, and I got one or two guys in my head that I'm like, oh, I'm waiting to. Every time I see their name pop up in a DM, I'm like, oh, I think I know what that DM's about. I told D Wayne the other day, his name popped up, and I looked at it for 10 minutes. Like, I really don't want to click this. It's probably not good. It's probably going to be, I'm probably getting cussed out. Cause I made some slider changes in the middle of the week. There was like 2 games left. And I was like, he's going to cuss me out for doing that. Cause he hates it. And I get it, but I was like, I'm not going to be around for the advance. I want to get these in before we advance. But it wasn't. He was just congratulating me on a win against the Steelers. I was like, whew, man, dodged a bullet there. But, if you've ever commissioner ever in your whole life, that when those certain names pop up in your DMs, you're like, oh, I don't want to click that. Big Hurt's one of them. I ain't going to lie, Big Hurt. You're one of those names. I'm like, I'm scared to click that DM. This could be like a, hey, buddy, I hope your day's going great. Or this could be a 6-mile paragraph of like why I suck as a human and why my sliders suck as a human. No, Maniac, don't laugh too hard because you've been in that bucket too.
Let's be real. If you get a message from me, it's probably like, hey, so-and-so, we've been talking and we're going to swap teams.
Yeah, fair. Maniacs is like, hey, I've been watching 17 films and digging in 13 stats, and I found this one guy that might have did this one weird thing, and I think you should kick him out of the league and never talk to him. I'm like, oh my God, why? And Nate, I never can just take information and sit on it. I got to react immediately because that's my freaking superpower. Anyway, guys, let me get out of here and go play Bill. I love you. Take care of yourselves, OMFL. I appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Loses.
Later.
Smash that like and subscribe.